Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Woodson, content editor for Writer's Digest, here alongside my friend and colleague, managing editor Mariah Richard, and we are here to continue discussions about writing communities with some incredibly exciting guests. With us today are three of the founding members of PitBLK, an event and community that amplifies and celebrates Black writers and their work. First off, we just want to say welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we get started, we'd love for each of you just to sort of introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I'll go first. Hi, my name is Elaine Clark, and I'm an attorney, a literary agent, and a young adult author. My debut comes out July 26th, Love Times Infinity.
Okay, I'll go next. I am Maya Ariel. I am a currently querying/revising author of rom-coms. I work in higher education, and I live in Los Angeles with my husband and my son, who's a 2-year-old.
And hello, I am Ashley Noel. I am a social worker, currently a therapist, kind of traveling in my car and Airbnb-ing it with my cat and dog for a few months right now. And I am also a querying author.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for that. So at the time of this recording, we're about a week out of you officially launching your website, www.pitblk.com. And right now, as you listen, it's currently live. So congratulations on your launch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're in the future.
Yes. So would you just briefly tell our listeners about PitBLK and your mission?
Yeah, definitely. So PitBLK is the first, as far as we know, Twitter pitch party for Black authors, exclusively for Black authors. And the purpose of it is to amplify Black authors and their work, and to also encourage the traditional publishing industry to help support and celebrate the work coming from Black authors, because as we know, there's a lot of inequity in the industry, and Black art, Black culture, Black writing is so influential just broadly that we thought that we would answer the call that's been coming from a lot of writers on Twitter.
So within that, what was the inception for PitBLK? Like how did it grow from an idea to an actionary thing?
A tweet?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It always starts on Twitter.
For better or worse.
So I guess it goes probably a little bit way back to 2020. From an initial tweet about, why isn't there a hashtag for Black writers in the kind of, pitch ecosystem that exists on Twitter. And we came up with BVM, Black Voices Matter, and just saw kind of the success that came from that on Twitter, agents being able to more easily find that work. And then Maya took it and just totally ran with it, and PitBLK, a whole event for Black writers, sprouted out of that little seed. So a lot of this is Maya's brainchild.
Well, I think, we're all familiar, I think, with Pitch Wars and PitMad, which has had 10 years of great success. And in the announcement earlier this year that they were going to discontinue, it kind of created this sort of vacuum where writers in the querying phase were sort of like, well, what's next, And I think a lot of smaller pitch contests started cropping up. And as that was happening, there was conversation or discourse on Twitter about marginalized communities and focusing on amplifying them. And so I was just really fascinated to see API Pit, just observing as a supporter, retweeting, cheering on fellow authors, and their work. And it was just cool to see how for one day the industry kind of stopped and took notice of what was happening. And it was beautiful to see all the mood boards and aesthetics of all the different rich cultures that make up the API author community. And I kind of just tweeted, we should do one for Black writers. And I said, what about Pitch Black, which was what we initially thought we would be. And from that one tweet, I started getting DMs like crazy. Like, you should do this. I'll support you. We want this. And then I just created a Twitter account, and Elaine reached out and offered support. I think I DM'd Ashley, Faith, who's our other founding member, DM. So we just kind of created a group chat, and the rest is, we've been busy for the past month.
Yeah. It's been a whirlwind.
So was there any level of any of you knowing each other beforehand, or is that truly how each of you met?
That's how we met.
That's
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
But since then, I think we probably, I DM the four of us, I DM them more than almost anyone. So we've quickly become, we had our first internal Zoom chat that went 2 hours last week. So we're becoming fast collaborators and friends.
I think a Zoom call is a good test of how much a team can gel together.
Yeah.
So this episode is all about writing communities, and we're always really excited to see new and emerging groups come together and support one another. So other than your mission to amplify Black authors and their work, do you have some personal goals for this community?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on our Zoom, our internal Zoom, which was really just providing resources. The publishing industry is really opaque. There's a lot of unwritten rules. There's a lot of kind of etiquette and expectations that as a new author, you would really have no idea how to even break in. And so we're going beyond just the pitch event, and maybe Ashley can talk about a lot of the outreach to editors and agents and authors to provide mentorship and different opportunities for authors to just learn, how do I break into this? How do I go from just writing my ideas down to getting a manuscript that's ready to even start querying? So
yeah, so I can add on to that.
That's my tee up for you, Ashley.
No worries. I'm like, here we go. I got it. So for me, I know coming into the querying world and on Twitter, it was like, where do you go? What do you do from here? And so we're really wanting to kind of remove the blinds that are around like publishing, and kind of remove that and offer it to be a little bit easier and accessible. So we've been doing a call out to a lot of editors, to agents, to not only spotlight them, but to make sure we have their support in seeing if we can do like ask agent events and ask editors, to open that space for people to ask the hard questions, or the questions that we feel like we can't always answer to ask anybody else because it feels like a dumb question, or it feels like we should know these things when we don't. Also offering space to talk to other authors and spotlighting them and talking about their journeys and what advice they may have for people in the industry, and seeing what ideas they have. I'm having a lot of people completing our survey saying they want to help with mentorship, they want to help donate services, or help just talk to people to help introduce them to traditional publishing and even self-publishing. So we really just want to kind of take that sheer that's kind of hidden over publishing, we feel like, especially for the Black community.
That sort of beautifully leads me into my next question, because we did notice a lot of that on your social media. You guys do such a good job of highlighting agents and authors and editors all across your social media. And you've mentioned to Mariah, I believe, that you've pulled resources from larger online communities as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process and that experience, and maybe how has that started to form your maybe new perceptions of the publishing world as well?
Yeah, I think it was really important to us to acknowledge that there were communities and groups that came before us, and to not just acknowledge them, but to reach out and want to collaborate. So that's kind of the phase we're in now, where we're also in the DMs of other groups like Rogue Mentor and Rev Pitt. We got insight from the folks behind PitMad. We reached out to API Pitt, and on our website that by the time of this airing will have been launched, we've got a resources page that links to the different mentorship programs available, because that's what part of our purpose is to connect authors, Black authors, with things that are already existing to help support them. And then beyond that, we want to do kind of co-collaborations, maybe host panels and conversations with folks behind other programs, to just kind of join forces and show that we are here to particularly highlight and amplify Black writers, but we know this is an inclusive industry and it's not anything that you do on your own. And so seeing that kind of, reaching across and working together is something that we really want to see.
As I said, to answer the second part, I feel like it's taken away. It feels like intimidating to go in somebody's DMs and be like, "Hi, I'm a random person you've never heard of before, and this is what we're offering." But the response back has been just so uplifting, especially for somebody who is a nobody in the Twitter realm. It's very great to see so much support wanted for this. A lot of people are excited and have been waiting around for this kind of event to happen. So,
yeah, I definitely had to get over being shy.
Well, I love what you say, though, as a brief aside. I love what you say in terms of something that we see a lot from people, especially debut authors, is that they couldn't imagine the group effort that it is to get your book published and all of the people behind the scenes that make it happen. And I think groups like this really help, because writing can be so kind of isolating and deeply personal in a way that is beautiful, but also kind of lonely. And so knowing that there is a group of people who really want to help, it just makes it a much better experience, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, and I think too, just back to the discourses, is that we're seeing that kind of everyone's saying that it's hard to be in the trenches right now. Like, everything's taking a lot longer to get responses, and there's just sort of like this trickle down of overwhelm. And so I didn't know when I started querying that, I could just write my book and send that first draft out. That was something I didn't know. I didn't know about CPs and betas. I didn't know that like freelance editing was a thing. And all of that I kind of just picked up on Twitter through following different conversations. And so I started querying and thinking I was ready. And then I learned about a month in that I really wasn't. And I needed to take a step back and work on my manuscript. And so something like this might help the next author, kind of prepare themselves a little bit better for entering the trenches.
And I think for me as an editor, so I have a history of working specifically with debut authors. So I helped over 100 debut authors publish. And there seems to be this like culture of embarrassment around asking questions, that like, oh, well, if I have to ask this, I might appear not to know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, then you think I'm a bad writer. And I'm always of the mind that like I'm happy to answer a question 10,000 times because it's new to you. So I think like spaces like this are super important for people who they just have questions and they don't know where exactly to bring them, where it's safe to bring them, because certain communities online especially, I feel like can be a little bit pretentious. Maybe that's me coming from like a MFA background that I'm sensitive to that kind of attitude. But I think that it's important for people to be able to have a space where the resources are clearly laid out. They feel comfortable connecting with people who might be a little bit more experienced than them. And kind of speaking of this online space, so I think it would be really great if you could walk us through PitBLK and its website. So like I said earlier, we know that you're about to launch, already launched for our listeners, but how would an interested author best utilize PitBLK? Like, where should they start?
So first and foremost, our pitch dates, they're September 21st and 22nd. This is an homage to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Do you remember the 21st night of September? So, yes. Yeah, we wanted it to be, we're calling it a pitch party, not a pitch contest, because the vibes are just a little bit different with a party. We're splitting up our genres and age groups over those days. But to get back to the question, the first thing you'll notice is that's when our pitch dates are. And we encourage all authors that are going to participate to look at our official participants tab, which lists over 50 agents and editors who have signed on. They've responded to our survey that Ashley sent out, and we got help creating that survey. And they said, we will be scrolling on your PitBLK hashtag that day, looking for talent that we want to consider. So we'd recommend that authors research that list. Are there agents there that are repping your genre? And also, if you do get likes from these agents that day, do your research before you submit to them. I think that's probably the number one goal. We wanted to make sure that we had industry buy-in and participation, and we wanted to show that and make it really clear on the website. And then beyond that, we've got our spotlight section, which I guess, Ashley, do you want to talk about that part?
Yeah, so this part I'm very excited about. So we have reached out to some Black authors, Black agents, and Black editors, and each month, or probably bi-monthly, we'll be spotlighting them, asking various different questions about, what their projects are, what it's like being an agent, how do they keep going in a time where it feels like the publishing world is a lot. And then fun questions like, what song are you playing at the Black Publishing cookout and stuff like that. So that part will be fun, I think, and it'll be a good piece for people to know other people in the community, to build their network up, and to know what just it's like, especially as another Black person in this writing community.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of interesting insight from editors and agents as well, who are navigating the industry from a different vantage point. Because there's inequity with Black authors, but there's also inequity throughout the industry as a whole. So that spotlight section is really about, again, amplifying Black people who are making an impact.
Another important piece to look at are our official rules for the pitch contest. Every pitch contest has certain rules. We want to make sure you get those read first off. Of course, we're going to keep reminding as it gets closer to the 21st, but we want to make sure that everybody understands the different rules that we have and different hashtags and stuff that you can use.
So you have your website and your Twitter. Are there any other places where people can find you online?
As of now, no, but who knows? I don't even think we've thought about TikTok or Instagram. Getting the website launched has been like our big lift to this point, but we know that publishing is huge on TikTok. And so I don't know if we can muster the energy. I also am a millennial, so TikTok is already a challenge.
Yep. And I can't dance, so it's like, I don't even have that.
I know.
Also that.
I think it took me like an hour to make my first TikTok.
I was trying to figure out, how do you splice a video? How do you connect these two things? It's just not working. So no, I'm good.
Yeah, so maybe if we add someone to our team who's really savvy.
Well, I think that kind of leads us into our next question, which is, what do you hope to see for PitBLK in the future? Like, what is your dream for it?
Some book deals. I mean, I'm really excited to start seeing the successes that come out of the pitch party and the relationships that are built. I know they're just around the corner, and I'm excited to add that page to our website about authors who find representation, books that sell, maybe one day a full mentorship program, but we'll have to build up to that one.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I mean, we call it a party because we want it to be celebratory, and we don't want it to have like those stressed out vibes of like, did I get likes? Did I not get likes? Because I know that in a lot of instances, if you end the day with no likes, you kind of feel like you failed. And so we're calling it a party. So it's really about celebrating, but at the end of the day, we do want to make those connections between authors and agents, and we do want representation offers to come from this, and we want agents to look forward to this day as a day where they can actually find marketable work. And so it'll be sort of like a destination day. That's like the shorter term goal, and absolutely the sky's the limit for long-term goals.
Building community. Maybe hopefully people can find betas or CPs or just other people who are interested in things they like. Sometimes it can be hard when you're starting off new and don't know anything about this, especially getting on Twitter if you're not used to that too. So I'm hoping this can just be a first place to build that support network.
And I think kind of more like existentially, we just want Black authors to feel like there's a space for them. Like Mariah, you said, where there's like, it's an embarrassment free zone. You can ask any question that comes to mind. No pretension. I think the tone of our Twitter is we're trying to evoke like fun and, just this is a home base for you on Twitter, which is such an active community for writers. But now there's like a focal point where there's a voice for Black writers, and hopefully this spawns other groups to form. And we're also discovering other groups that exist for Black creators across different art and culture spaces as well.
Well, really, that's really all we have for all of you. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Where can our listeners and viewers find you online?
Start with our Twitter at PitchBLK. I think that's definitely kind of like our landing pad. If there's anywhere to start, I think it's definitely there.
Yeah, that's where our most active conversations are happening, and we're always sending out chaotic prompts because they all have a purpose. We're building our guidelines and rules. So respond to our prompts, engage with us on Twitter. Our website, PitBLK.com, which as of this listening, you'll be able to visit. And right now, those are our two home bases.
And engage with each other on there. I think that is another huge plus of the Twitter and the website. It's a great place to find other Black writers. So talk to each other, hype each other up. That's really what we're all here for, just to build the community.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.